Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is KarQ, and today we've got a collaborative video here, breaking down how we managed to turn around the second round of Busan. This was the final tie-breaking map in our opening match of the Overwatch League Season 2 against the Houston Outlaws. It was an absolute nail-biter, and we've got the head coach Bishop here to take it away.
Hello everybody, this is Bishop, the head coach for the Toronto Defiant. The key idea over here in Sanctuary is the Hammond composition. You're going to be wanting to have your DPS players set up in positions so that they're ready when the Hammond can pile drive a high-value target over here, which is most likely going to be Raucus or Lynxer. So at the beginning of the fight, you really won't see much contesting from either side. It's mostly about scouting from the Sombra side and identifying where people are, where high-value targets are. Lynxer is going to be looking to set himself up on main so that he has the widest line of sight. You'll notice Ivy just immediately dying to Lynxer again. There's not much you can do about that. It's best to have a Widow contested while you're opening up a fight. So typically, Sombra will be like, I see Widow, 3, 2, 1, guys, fight. And while she's keeping Widow's attention, the rest of the core can fight without being scared of, Widow one-shotting them. So you'll notice, despite the fact that we have 2 people down, you'll notice the rest of the team immediately focus on the objective, because when it's a 5v6, you're going to lose a team fight no matter what. So the idea here is to get as much benefit as you can by stalling on the point. It's going to be really scrappy, and if luck's on your side, sometimes you'll get some extra kills while the opponent really is pressured to take point back. But because the team that has to play aggressive or that needs to come in is the team that doesn't have the point. So you'll notice our team trying to stay on the point as long as possible and get that percentage. Now, we know at this point that we're most likely going to lose if they come in. The key here is to continuously stall, because once you have that percentage bank, you can accept a couple of team losses. But we secured 33% despite losing team fights. So it's kind of funny, and it feels weird too, because you're getting all the kills and you're dominating, but the objective of the game is to get more percentage. Another unfortunate pick here, A just dies. With our support, we're not going to be able to do anything. Contrary to what happened earlier on, we don't have the point. Someone died, that means we need to back out and regroup. At this point, Yakpung gives up on going Wrecking Ball, going Winston, because he wants to contest the Widowmaker in the support line a little bit more effectively. To enhance the synergy, MB also decides to drop Brig, because it was very easy to see that Widowmaker was being an extreme issue to us, and that our supports weren't able to go out from the spawn point. Aid, after dying multiple times, just decided to go Moira as well. Just an excellent hack onto Lynxer. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to kill anyone there. While we did lose that fight, you'll immediately see that Lynxer was forced back a lot more. This is exactly what Yakpung and Envy was looking for at this point in the game. So now, by choosing Winston and D.Va, like I said, we can establish a lot more ground. Our supports can go out with the tanks, and we're basically spearheading into any given location that we choose. Obviously, most of that time, our front line is going to be going to contest wherever Lynxer is going to be, because he's out of his comfort zone. He's focused more on running away and repositioning himself. So while it did look shaky with Roki being picked off right off the bat by Muma's pile driver, the rest of the 5 people just run forward, and we establish all that ground. We steal Houston Outlaws' defense zone, and we basically make it ours. Get a couple picks over there, we eliminate the supports, and all of a sudden, despite the fact that we started with 1 person less, the Outlaws are forced into uncomfortable positions that kind of breaks their ranks. So Houston Outlaws, a lot more spread pressure. At any given moment with a snap, they can collapse on one specific target, but they themselves are going to be spread out for the most part. It's difficult to really jump into these kind of compositions because their pressure is all spread, and their high mobility really allows them to just be unrelenting. Our team, in response to this, decides to have a more focus-oriented composition. Here, Stellar commits to an early EMP. Generally, with an EMP, you want to use it as often as possible, because the ultimate alone can win fights. And when you do have the option in a Sombra Chaser comp, you will want to use EMPs to kind of just get single ultimate high kill fights. And it really helps with your ult economy as well. And you kind of want to hold on to your support ults and your tank ults for those moments when you want to add longevity to the fight. and if the enemies are really committing ultimates. So they're mostly going to be used in response to how, in this situation, how the Outlaws are going to come out. For example, if they decide to use Sound Barrier, Nano Boost, or whatever they want and come in, that's when we're going to be starting to use those tank ults and those support ults in response to that. But our trigger happy ult over here is going to be our EMP, and we want to use that as often as we can to look to win fights for free. Now, we didn't get the pick there because Boink was positioned in a way that he wouldn't be affected by the EMP and in a position where he could sound barrier his allies as soon as he does get EMP. So right here we have an ultimate to ultimate trade-off where the EMP causes the sound barrier to come out. We all back off because there's no point in fighting a team of 6 people that have sound barriers on them. There's a lot of help. This is for the Houston Outlaws, who want to chase us as hard as they can because they have a sound barrier and they can be resource. And this is somewhat of a mistake, in my opinion, to have started the fight like this, because instead of being spread out here and taking advantage of their composition and kind of collapsing into one target, they kind of come in single file. Obviously, this is the heat of the moment. Any team, any player, I think, would have made the same mistake here. You have a sound barrier, you want to go in. They all try to collapse in on us, but we're already ready here, and we have a much stronger, much sturdier composition than the Outlaws do over here with their single tank Hammond. So a great bonus for us. Muma also commits to using his mines, and this is just free pickup for us. Aid could have probably held on to Coalescence, but he does use it because mines were committed, and it looked like the Outlaws were going to go for a big resource dump onto point. Towards the end of the fight, once we have 80% plus percentage, we have Linkster switch off from the Widowmaker to his Brigida. Now, there are primarily going to be 2 reasons why you could explain this. It's correct because when the point first opens, both teams have half the map each to utilize. If you look at it simply, in the beginning, when we started with the Brig and Sombra Tracer comp, we would be using about 50% of the map, while the Outlaws would be using 50% of the map as well. The difference here is that Widowmaker has a lot of room to position herself, and she has a lot of angles to shoot people. But once we have the control point, which means we're utilizing roughly, I would say on Sanctuary, give or take 70% of the map. And then all of a sudden, Linkster only has about 30% of the map to utilize from Spawn Door as a Widowmaker. So it's a lot more challenging because he doesn't have the same amount of room to play with. And there aren't as many angles that he can utilize to effectively shut down our support players. That's basically why Linkster immediately had to switch off Widowmaker onto the Brigida. This was a solid choice by them because Linkster's going to add into that survivability for Raucous and Boink here by going Brig, and additionally add some more healing to Muma. So once we're at 84%, we're approaching the last fight of a control map, and the last fight is called Makton in Korean, and it's actually Korean combined with English, and Mak means last, and Ton is actually turn, so it's the last turn, it's the last fight. Now, if we look at the Houston Outlaws, they have Mana Boost, they have Pulse Bomb, and they have an EMP. Obviously, the EMP is going to be the big highlight over here, and you have to understand that players are always estimating what ultimates that the opponents have. Will be keeping an eye out for who does a lot of effective damage on the other team, and based off of that, they'll be making an estimation of how much ult charge the opponent has. So before allowing him to kind of flank around, get into an ideal position, and then use that EMP to collapse on us, the game plan here is to take the fight to them. It's a lot like with Linkster having less room to utilize, he's forced off the Widowmaker. The same idea applies here in that we don't want the Houston Outlaws to be able to spread out in an ideal manner so that they can all collapse efficiently onto our core with Jake's EMP. That would be a disaster. So before that happens, when a Diva Bomb is being thrown into the air into your team, you need to run. And while you're running away, your formation is going to break, and as a result of that, some players are going to be isolated. And if you see this play out, you'll notice that by utilizing Envy's Diva Bomb, the less mobile Brigida, that is Linkster right now, is going to be caught out. You'll see Stellar calmly waiting for a Diva Bomb to come in and identifying that target that is going to be isolated. And here it's Linkster. Yakun goes in as well. We shut down Linkster, and you'll see Jake EMPing over there onto our Tracer, Winston, Moira, and Lucio. But because the rest of the Houston Outlaws can't come in and assist him in dismantling our core, he's taken down while he's doing this by himself, and all of a sudden, we're in a good spot. Ivy also connects with the Pulse Bomb here onto Raucous, and in general, we stabilize with the Sound Barrier, and we win the game here. So the 10,000 IQ play here was by deciding to bring the fight to them, preventing the Houston Houston Outlaws from utilizing the map as much as they would like. So I guess the key theme here for Sanctuary is denying your opponent team of using the map as much as they would like. When Linkster's on Widow, he wants to use as much of the map as possible. Obviously at the beginning, and once they took the point, it was extremely effective, but once we decided to go with the Winston Diva Sombra Chaser composition and kind of break ranks and just power through and get the point, the Outlaws were forced to drop the Widowmaker because there wasn't enough map for them to use and use a Brigida instead. GG's to the Houston Outlaws, both teams showing a lot of resilience and adaptation on the fly under a lot of pressure. It was an exciting match to watch, not only as, being the coach of your own team playing as another team, but just as a person who enjoys watching Overwatch. It wasn't the cleanest from both sides, obviously a lot to improve, but a lot was learned from facing them. And till we meet again in June.